Hello and welcome back, and nice to see you again and all that jazz. Now, I decided to make a very quick follow-up video because just a couple of minutes ago we had the 118.6 patch release, which came with a couple of updates that kind of relate to the camera video that I did yesterday. So I'd very much like to take a minute and talk about that. I think I'm gonna decide to call this thing a EVE Online feature, maybe even a recurring theme of type of video. I don't know. Anyway, so among the features and changes released as part of this patch, as we can see in the patch notes, which I will link in the description, the user interface has received the following option. If I go to the settings menu, you now see this dynamic camera movement that you can turn on and off. As it says, enables automated camera movement based on ship velocity, zoom level, and events such as docking and undocking. To put it in another way, if you deactivate this, you will no longer benefit, quote-unquote, from the cinematic camera and docking, undocking, and sort of logging into space, which I know some people dislike. I don't find it that particularly that annoying. It can be, though, if you're on docking in the middle of a fight and you don't really want to waste time on looking at a animation of your ship sort of flying around in nice flyby view of that. It also has a couple of other interesting effects that directly sort of relate to what I was saying in yesterday's video when we were looking at tracking cameras and stuff like that. First things first, though, even if you don't deactivate this this option, if you switch to the tactical camera, you will not get the docking and undocking animations. So that might be worth it if you're not interested in removing the fancy sort of bobbing and weaving of your ship as you move around and change your speed and your velocity, or the dynamic field of view that also kind of moves around depending on what you do with your ship. So if you're interested in that, as you see, like just now I started my warp drive because I'm going faster. My ship kind of displaced slightly to the right because I was moving to the left, and as it moves around it kind of weaves around the center. It's not centered, right? This is especially apparent in warp. Let's see, if I warp to this particular gate over there, you should see my ship sort of, let's leave it like this. There you go. So it's moving to the right side of my screen. Now this can get annoying if you have an overview that's largely large, as it can obscure your ship. So it's almost like your camera is or rather your ship is on an orbit, well, when you move it around like this, relative to the center, to the central positioning of your camera, if you will. Which I have to say is a bit of an exaggerated effect. It gets kind of annoying. But you can turn that off by deactivating the dynamic camera movement here. So let me warp back to that gate. Well, like you can see, if I zoom in, it's all the way to the left of my screen. Now, the tactical camera does not have anything like this, so you see I'm always centered. And now, if you deactivate this option, this will be the case as well for your orbit camera. Now this has mainly good sides, to be perfectly honest. So, for one, it won't do this, like I said, when you're changing your speed or your velocity. It won't dynamically adjust the field of view depending on that either. Obviously, the field of view of the orbit camera itself is slightly different from the standard. Like I said, it's a bit more cinematic, a bit more sense-to-scale-y. Other than that, so your ship will always stay centered. Let me warp again so you can see that. So very much in line with the old camera. Well, the little sort of shaking here is a different effect. The camera shake and the camera bob. That's an entirely different thing. But my positioning of the camera, my anchoring of the camera is the same. And that's kind of nice. If you're not looking for it to suddenly end up like this, so you're wondering where the hell. And have it hide behind your interface. The other cool thing is that outside, so it doesn't say that, but outside of the docking animation and the undocking animation and the ship change animation and the logging into space animation that get deactivated when you turn this option off, another thing gets turned off, which highly annoyed me yesterday. That's a drone I can pick up. And that is that little, so remember this? Let me turn it back on. Remember me tracking? It snaps And then if I change the camera positioning, it defocuses, and that takes a little second, right? So I'm focusing, and then I want to move my camera, and I have to wait for that to happen before I can move it. Well, if you turn the dynamic camera movement off, I'll track, and then I can instantly change my camera. I'll track, I can instantly change my camera, which is very much the same thing that happened in the past, and it's great. You no longer have to suffer through that. It was really annoying, and now it's basically fixed. The only problem with that is because you're turning off these dynamic offsets of your camera and field of view, your focus position is right smack in the center, and it's always obscured by your ship. Say, so I'm focused on this Stargate. If I focus on that little beacon there, the shipyard and research facility, my ship is right on top of it. That's how it is now. For comparison's sake, if I turn it back on, you can see I'm slightly offset, right? So that was, the complaint I had yesterday relating to this particular thing is now even worse. Because it was the case that because they're both sort of central on the same kind of horizontal plane, your ship and the focus target, then it sometimes was the case that when you, depending on the movement of your ship and your speed and your stuff, you'd get your ship basically, sometimes coming in the front of your target, and they were not offset vertically enough for that not to happen, and it was kind of annoying. Now it's even worse now. So you're dropping that little cooldown animation. I'm just gonna call it a cooldown animation of your focus. So you can just basically immediately adjust your camera, which is fine, but instead you're trading that for permanently obscuring your target with your ship. Now there's not even the chance of that not to happen. Alternatively, though, additionally, funny thing is deselecting the dynamic camera stuff also enables the pan again. So this is me right-clicking around while I'm tracked. This is so weird. If I turn it back on, so again, it's slightly offset. Right-click does nothing. There you go, nothing. So really, it's one step forward, one step back. Always doing the same thing again. I guess this is at least slightly more usable in the sense that you don't have to actually mess around with waiting for those useless animations of defocusing on the target. But it would solve a lot of things if sometime in a future update, in a future patch, we get a small update that would let you reposition the focus target to whatever you want. If you could also reposition the sort of the center position of your ship somewhere as well, like maybe down here or something, that would also help a lot. Yeah. Okay, that's it for a quick update. Only 8 minutes this time. Not going to go any longer than that. Thanks for watching. See you around.